Hello everyone, and welcome to Among the Embers, where we are once again back in 2388 and everything is terrible. As usual, we would like to thank Modifius for creating this wonderful gaming system, the lovely people at Star Trek Online for allowing us to use some of their assets, and Fury of Seraph on DeviantArt for creating the template which allowed us to make the Nightingale's dedication plaque. So yes, who remembers what happened last time? Who shall I volunteer for this? 10, you're pretty good at that.
I wasn't here last time. I've only
I
got
think the
this
big thing
marker.
we can come down to is we met our big
So
bad.
you weren't. Wow. I'm a little slow today, I do apologize.
Coffee.
So last
I
week,
didn't have the excuse of being American. I'm 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me. Anyway, so yes, the crew of the Nightingale was busily attempting to provide relief to the people of Veronat, and discovered a plot by a Cardassian named Gul Madron to set up some kind of base on the planet. But once that had been discovered and the Cardassian confronted, you came face to face with the true mastermind of the entire thing, a Betazoid named Cecina Luki, a commanding officer of a mercenary organization of some description called the Blackthorn League. She somewhat gracefully withdrew all of her forces, but not before executing Madron very publicly and very painfully for disobeying her orders. So that's fun.
Lovely lass.
Oh yeah. Your subsequent communications with Admiral Janeway reveals that Starfleet intelligence is aware of Blackthorn, and that they will be sending you some more information about it. You're also told that, given the initial success of the Nightingale and following up on agreements, you are now not the only Starfleet vessel present in Romulan space. So, we open up with our lovely Chief of Security, Lieutenant Commander Naz Bassam, having received an update from Starfleet intelligence.
This will probably be a command staff meeting to bring everyone up to speed.
Sounds like it would make sense.
Works for me.
I will approve this.
Let's do it.
I'm game. Officers, thank you for coming to this briefing. I've received a data packet from Starfleet Intelligence concerning our recent run-in with the Blackthorn League. There's some interesting data to discuss. The main point of contention is that the Blackthorn League was once a section of the Orion Syndicate. It has since broken away, and for some reason has been left alone rather than actively pursued. This should give you an idea of the capabilities of our current potential foe.
Oh, jeez.
Does the report give any clue as to why they did not pursue them?
The reports are not particularly descriptive, but much can be deduced from the personality of our primary subject, which would, of course, be the leader herself, Sestina. As a betazoid, these sorts of behaviors exhibited are very atypical. The personality reports delving into her history do suggest that this is a result of very severe stresses. We are not dealing with a particularly stable individual.
Not many are in her line of work.
This may be a special case, but you are not wrong. The primary goal of the Blackthorn League is that they intend to create their own political entity. There's a lot of collected materials referencing carving out an empire or making the galaxy respect the downtrodden. Of course, what qualifies as downtrodden in their terminology may not exactly match with ours.
More like criminals.
So far as Starfleet is concerned, the Blackthorn League is a pirate organization and has no political authority at all.
Well, that is something we will just have to deal with, isn't it?
Potentially. Her assets at present were built around the core of the Orion Syndicate fleet she took to establish the Blackthorn League, since modified by other Cardassian malcontents such as Madron, and we believe remnants of the House of Duras. There is, in addition, some indication that some Romulan movements within the former Star Empire have welcomed them into their territory and perhaps allied with them.
Do we have any estimate on their force's strength?
Significant for a pirate fleet, but not enough to be a credible threat to established empires. At least as of last report.
Almost sounds like another coup for like Shinzon.
From
Yes.
another direction, but yes.
Seems like a bunch of nut jobs to me, just trying to gain some form of power.
There will always be that type in the galaxy. It is our duty to stand up wherever we have the opportunity. With the recent addition of more Federation forces in Romulan space, it's going to get very interesting, I believe. She'll see this as a direct challenge.
So will some of the other Romulans, whether they are allied or not.
They could be rogue Romulans. I mean, look at Nero.
Those may be the ones that Cecina has attracted, but I was referring to the main 3 polities in the former Star Empire. With regards to this peace conference, Starfleet intelligence has placed it at a high probability that influence will attempt to be exerted through legal or other means, either by the 3 main polities we are dealing with, or by outside actors like Blackthorn.
Captain, incoming transmission from Starfleet.
Send it through.
The view screen in the conference room flickers, and the by now familiar features of Admiral Janeway can be seen there. Captain? I appear to have caught you in the middle of a meeting.
Yes, Admiral. We were entertaining a intelligence briefing on the information that was sent to us.
Oh yes, Blackthorn. I've been looking at them over myself. Particularly unpleasant group of people, but they have a following, and they believe they have a point, both of which are very dangerous. You've heard of the upcoming peace conference between the 3 star empires?
Yes, Admiral.
Starfleet has been doing its best to try and guide that along. Despite the hostility showed to us by at least 2 of those groups, Starfleet believes that a united Romulan Star Empire will be far less trouble in the long run than a divided one. In that spirit, and given that you are the most experienced diplomat on the scene when it comes to the Romulans, was dispatching the Nightingale to the peace conference to act as a mediator.
Of course, ma'am. It is a very good option. It's probably our best hope to try and. Well, I'll be honest. I don't foresee even my skills being able to get some sort of unity at this point. But maybe even just getting them set down on the table and not shooting each other will be a bit of a boon.
Particularly if we can get any kind of goodwill from Praetor. Checking my notes. Praetor Nadaris. Any kind of actively hostile force is just going towards our relief efforts is just going to make things harder for everyone concerned.
Nadaris is Praetor of which one? GM question?
Abraxas. His capital is on Abraxas 5. Fortunately, that's quite deep into the Empire, some distance away from most of our operations, but given the fondness the Romulans have for their cloaking technology and the lack of clarity when it comes to borderlines, that doesn't really mean a great deal.
We have some goodwill with the Aknars.
Yes, I'm hoping that Praetor Tarax will displays some gratitude and a slightly more open mind in view of that business with the Takaran weapons theft.
Yeah, that was also in character, by the way.
I figured. Then, of course, you've got number 3, Praetor Valorian, who, from what I've told, Valorian is playing a rather dangerous game. He's attempting to portray a progressive outlook to people like the Federation, while maintaining a conservative outlook to his own people, trying to balance out pleasing everyone. You know what they say about trying to please everyone.
Nas visibly winces.
We also have it on good authority that Taris will also be present. She wasn't officially invited by the other factions, but she holds enough weight that I doubt she'll be turned away.
When one commands most of the remaining battle fleet, I cannot say I am surprised.
Be careful of Taris, Captain. She is... She doesn't
Romulan?
have... Well, that's true, but she also has a very specific agenda which is all about what is best in her eyes for the military and for the people under her control. That means that she doesn't have a stated position. She is a soldier, not a politician, and that can mean that she's a little more direct, but it also means that she can be harder to predict. Be careful.
Always, Admiral.
Last but not least, as I'm sure that the potential for some kind of sabotage or even assassination attempt is not lost on you. There's some very important people going to be present here, and we can't even guarantee that none of them will be involved in any such attempts. I want your security to be on highest alert.
Of course, Admiral.
If we can pull this off and get even a truce in place, along with a united front against Blackthorn League, the Romulan Star Empire will be in a much better position, and, well, perhaps everyone can start focusing on helping the ordinary people who've suffered the most from this.
It will not be easy, but I am confident in my abilities.
That's what I like to hear. And do you have any questions, or shall I let you get on?
I have none at this time, Admiral.
Very well. Good luck. Good luck to all of you. Chainway out.
Well, you heard the woman?
I will begin crafting contingency plans for our security detachments. This, I suppose, does conclude my intelligence update. And I have said all that I can.
As the humans say, we got several hives that are probably going to be rattled here.
So are we having the talks on the ship or down on the planet? This is
You're going to
out
be
of character.
you're going to be going to a dedicated space station. which is usually a military outpost, but is being converted for the diplomatic talks for the purposes of this. Specifically, you're going to the Delta Valorum system, which is at a moderately equal distance from everyone.
I'm sure the location itself was under high contesting between the three parties.
That's probably a good bet.
You said
But
the
at least
Delta.
they settled on it.
You said the Delta Valorum.
That's correct. Finally get to use this map.
And I got on the stream.
Excellent. Incidentally, if people are interested, here we have Praetor and Praetor Valorian. Here we have Akanar and Praetor Atarax, who you dealt with his forces briefly in episode 1. And somewhere around here, we have Abraxas. Alrighty. So, about a day later, after finishing up your business on Veronat, making sure that everyone's happy, that all the power systems and replicators and stuff are working as best you can, you arrive at the Delta Valorum system. And yes, there's it's quite busy.
Several Romulan military ships, I take.
Oh yeah. There are 3, actually no, there will be 4 flagships there. Quite along with the assorted escorts. So you've got probably in the region of a dozen Romulan warships present.
What are they using as their flagships? Double Ds?
Let's see. There are 2 Dederdex, 1 Mogai, and 1 which you're not actually super familiar with. This is possibly some sort of new design. The Mogai, judging by the ID that's broadcasting, is the flagship of Warlord Taris. Which makes sense. She's got the most significant military presence. Makes sense that she'd have some of the newest toys.
Right.
She went from the Deridex to the Mogai.
Needless to say, you are challenged almost as soon as you enter the system.
On screen.
This is Valorum base. Identify yourself.
This is Captain Taya Zalanin of the USS Nightingale, friend to the Romulan people. We're here to offer our services, mine in particular, as a mediator for these talks.
That is what the starbase looks like instantly.
Huh.
Interesting.
Starbasey.
It is in fact quite starbasey.
Not exactly what I expect from a Romulan installation, but we haven't seen very many of them.
That's actually a good point. Hold on a second. Just bear with me. I'm arranging to let the stream see that as well. Okay. A little clumsy, but that'll do. Now, I'm sorry, where was I? Oh yes, you just identify yourself. Confirmed, Nightingale. We were told to expect you. Please move to these coordinates. We are ensuring that everyone has their own specific area of space to occupy. Please be aware that moving out of that region may result in consequences. As I'm sure you can appreciate, there are some rather twitchy trigger fingers in the area.
Perfectly understood. Nightingale acknowledges.
Well, you move to your holding pattern, which is very definitively at an equal distance from everyone else. You might be the theoretically neutral party here, but it doesn't mean that everyone likes the Federation or trusts you.
Because nobody trusts altruism.
Certainly not, especially not Romulans.
Definitely not Romulans.
I feel
Romulans
so.
are just that one.
We feel so loved.
Let's just hope our presence doesn't become the uniting factor.
That'd be awkward, wouldn't it?
Very.
And kind of maybe ironic if I'm using the term right.
It would be
Just
most
to preface
unfortunate.
that, I meant in a hostile sense.
Oh yeah, it would be most unfortunate if the Federation's presence here were to make things worse.
Gee, I wonder what someone might be planning.
Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, you arrive and are informed that you are welcome to send a team over to the station. Implicitly, a diplomatic team. If you were to follow up with Janeway's commands to monitor the security, then you're probably going to have to negotiate that.
I assume they want a limited amount of people. So like the captain and like 2 advisors or something.
That would be the most likely option. Although having security with you would not be out of place, because you can be pretty damn sure that everyone else has the security.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's to be expected. But GM Woman, Commander Bong, join me in my ready room.
Sir? Bong joins her in her ready room.
I need to do some brainstorming, Commander Bong. Going into these peace talks as a mediator puts us at a precarious position. And it would do us, I feel it would do us best if we had a seemingly non-altruistic motive to present.
They would expect that. They're also going to be looking for a show of force. The Romulans respect that as well.
that was a part of the deal, the plan. Lieutenant Commander Bazan was definitely going to be joining me. Nothing better than a show of force than a gigantic Gorn.
While it goes against regulations, I would actually recommend bringing me as well, and leaving Commander Vintot in charge of the ship. In my full battle rattle, I present a rather imposing figure, and flanked by Commander Vazan and myself, it will send a clear message of power.
Yeah, you don't want to show out of character here. You don't want to show too much power.
It's all about a careful balance. Romulans put a lot of stock in appearances, mostly because it acts as a clue as to what's going on underneath. Not that they actually trust the appearance itself.
I was gonna kind of suggest Nas and Vintot. Okay. Vintot, because he too has some experience with Romulans, he might be able to provide some insight.
Not that I'm not willing, but I also throw out there that being an engineer and he's worked on Romulan ships, he can get an idea of when they might start powering their weapons and things like that.
Or possibly using some means of sabotage.
Commander, I agree that I do believe you should be along with me. This is a totally diplomatic mission, so necessarily the regulations on both of us staying on board are a little gray. Looks. I don't know about your full regalia though. That might be a little overkill. One of my professors in the academy spoke of a Terran leader at one point who said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." I believe one big stick is enough, but they are Romulans. They will know who you are, and you will be a hidden stick, as it would.
Out of character. Personally, I think just bringing the axe would be a fantastic idea, but
Oh, if you wish to bring a weapon, I'm sure that would not be... I'm sure all of us will... The security team will definitely be allowed to be armed.
As an out-of-character note, given your familiarity with Romulans, the axe probably wouldn't go over well. It's Klingon. It's unsubtle.
No, the axe is actually human.
It might be a human weapon, but it would speak to them of a Klingon attitude. And you know how well Romulans get on with Klingons.
Yeah, and Klingons tend to carry their weapons openly, particularly their bladed weapons.
So, our first goals will be to get them to agree to allowing us to provide additional security and overwatch. Second, we need... Obviously, my plan is to get them to at least not kill each other in the long terms. What should we present to them, at least subtly, that the Federation is interested in other than just peace? Because that's what they're expecting, is the Federation just wants peace. I feel that, and I know they'll feel more comfortable if they feel that we have some other motive they can exploit.
I can think of a big one, if you would like some GM input.
Well,
Well,
already,
Cap,
my first plan is lucrative trade negotiate deals?
Trade is definitely one thing. They would also expect expansionist motives, indicating that we are interested in picking up some of the border colonies. I would actually suggest offering to take them off the Romulans' hands early on. They'll fully expect that. They're not going to agree to it. We don't really actually want it, but it gives us something to give us a motive to be there.
Oh, hang on, quick pause here. We're acting as mediators, so isn't the main role of that just to like help each side of the table to see some kind of even ground with each other?
Officially, yes, but these are Romulans. They kind of, I think they kind of expect anyone involved in these talks to have an agenda of their own.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, they're also expecting the Federation to be naive enough to either not have a hidden agenda, or they expect they already know what the Federation's hidden agendas are.
Yeah.
All right.
The obvious one is going to be wanting to pick up some of those border worlds. There are a couple of colonies that have changed hands over the years between the two powers.
The other thing to bear in mind is the Treaty of Algeron.
That's the treaty that banned the use of cloaking devices on Federation ships, right?
That's correct. And God knows the Federation, by various means, tried to circumvent it over the years, officially and unofficially.
Oh, yes.
The Defiant, the Pegasus.
Well, the Defiant was a special case. The Romulans allowed us to use that as long as we used it for reconnaissance in the Gamma Quadrant.
Sure, but it's still the Federation circumventing the treaty. It's an idea to play with.
Is it really circumvention if the Romulans let that?
Technically,
It's circumvention
yes.
in spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, it means that the Federation gets to play with the toys without paying the consequences.
Fair enough.
Well, I appreciate your input. I just felt the need. I needed to bounce some ideas off of my XO before we embarked on our new mission.
Indeed. I would also recommend possibly using the Treaty of Algernon as a lever. Because they will expect us to push for it. So again, we can try and push to enforce it. Because right now, the state of the treaty is in flux, so there's nothing preventing them from coming to Federation space.
Correct. But I think we'll keep that in our back pocket. We don't know yet how much bribery or subterfuge will be headed our way yet. We know we'll get some, as there are 4 factions present, but we don't know to what extent they'll be trying to plead to be influencing their sides. This could be just a show, and they're here just to argue with each other for a couple hours and then leave. But I digress. Let's not keep our wonderful hosts waiting.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
So, Commander Bong, Commander Bazan, and a couple of security officers will accompany me on board the station. Commander Ventot, you will have the bridge.
Aye, Captain. Any special instruction for me?
Keep an eye out. Try not to move too much, and keep my girl in one piece.
Keep the engine warm.
Well, that's a given, sir.
Oh.
Were we given instructions to beam over or shuttle over?
Beam over.
So we go to, we all head over to the, well, first, formal uniforms, everyone.
A goal
Sounds good.
uniform.
Break out your whites.
There's an
Okay.
Out of character, how long are we planning to stay there? Are we going to need a day bag?
It's not really clear how long the talks are going to go on for. It's quite likely that everyone involved would be going back to their own ships. Just, again, trust.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that this facility is technically neutral in the sense that no one claimed it, because it will be difficult for any of them to claim without pissing off the others. But in a very technical sense, this is a Rhetorian facility. As in, that's who they call when they need maintenance and equipment.
Which means it's something left over that not something the other two didn't want. At least badly enough to fight over.
Pretty much. But from your scans, you can easily tell that the thing's been pretty heavily defanged. All the weapon systems and shields are offline, which will presumably by the insistence of the others present.
To be fair, with the number of ships in the current area, that's probably not necessarily an unreasonable decision, except the shields. That's kind of bothersome, because at that point anything can go straight to damaging the hull sections.
Yep.
Makes it a very tempting target.
Yes, it does.
Oh yeah.
Fun.
All it takes is one piece of space rock plummeting at near the speed of light to zip straight through a whole plate into the power core, and boom.
Thank you, Bones.
You looking forward to dealing with the security issues here in Oz? All right.
Bjorn's actually going to take Nas aside before they beam over. Nas, what do we think we want for weapons? They will expect us armed. Do we want everyone to also be carrying a cricket? Concealed?
Standard sidearms should be sufficient. It shows that we believe them a credible threat, but not enough to warrant anything terribly stronger.
Very good. Do we want the captain armed as well?
I believe all members of our away teams should carry standard sidearms.
All right, let's get him armed up.
Quick question before we go on.
Yes.
Are our shields up? Are we like at yellow alert?
No.
Yeah, I would say keep us at condition green, as not appear provocative to any of the other
Well,
factions.
I understand that, but also Ventot's got going through his head. I really don't want to have unexpected visitors on this ship.
Well,
But
that is something that we can look at. Everyone's going to have things to do in this episode. Believe me, it's going to get
Okay.
messy.
Oh boy.
okay, carry on.
All right, so you beam over.
Pharrell sits on the
I have sound effects.
Yay!
forgot about that. So, but yeah, Pharrell just sits on the bridge, just paying attention to the passive scans of the system.
Alrighty. Yes, let's stick with the away team for now. There'll be some moving back and forth between ship and away team, I'm sure. You are met by quite the contingent, actually. A couple of security officers, some figures in military uniforms who look like they are probably officers of the station itself. But there's also someone with a slightly different military uniform. Which you recognize from your research, Captain, as an officer of the Imperial Legion. So apparently Taris wants to feel you out right from the start. No other officials are present, but you can bet that they'll show up soon enough.
Right.
The commander of the contingent inclines his head. Welcome to Welcome to the Valorum outpost.
Thank you. I assume you are to be our escort to the conference?
Yes, I am Subcommander Chataik. This, he gestures at the Legion officer, is Commander Soreth. She also inclines her head, but doesn't say anything. She is an officer of the Imperial Legion under Warlord Taris. Would you like?
Can I get those names again?
Yes. Hold on, I will type them for you. Thorath.
I thought it was the other way around. Sub-Commander Chataik and Commander Sorath.
You're correct. I'm dumb.
Okay. I fix. It's okay.
Yes, you do. I'm very grateful. Whatever would I do without my lizard? Okay. Chitaik just sort of gestures. Would you like to tour the conference rooms, or would you like to go ahead and meet with the other representatives at this time?
Let us take a peek at the conference room, and I point to the gigantic Gorn at my side. My chief of security, Commander Bazan, would appreciate the opportunity to ensure that my safety is guaranteed as well. I'm sure this is not a problem.
Of course. He has the sort of look of everyone said that. But he leads you through the corridors, which are very typically Romulan. They're a little more ornate than Federation standard, but not excessively so. The station does appear to be fairly busy. It has a lot of people coming and going, and you can see a lot of different uniforms, a lot of different services in play. From several different groups, of course. But you arrive soon enough in a pretty sizable chamber, actually. Big round table, imposing chairs, and of course, at one end, just looming over everything, the Romulan Aquila symbol.
Bazan, go ahead and make your assessment.
Nas will kind of take a turn around the room, just inspecting, seeing if what she can spot and what appears to be missing from what she'd expect.
Let us have a reason security check then. Difficulty of 1. By the way, this is a new episode. I'm changing the standard rules a little bit. At the start of an episode, you guys have 2 momentum. From this point,
Alrighty.
the first roll, the usual rule of blood drain once per scene will be in effect again.
Okay. I'm just going to roll it.
Alrighty.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a conference room. Nothing jumps out at you as being particularly wrong with it. I mean, it is a Romulan design, and there are quirks to that are going to be less familiar to you. But seems to be okay.
Nas comes back and bends over to kind of mutter to the captain. I don't see anything immediately of concern, but a security sweep at some point later would probably not go amiss.
Right. It would behoove us to... Well, let us start talking with the other interested parties and see if we can get an agreement from some of them to have more security on board.
You have concerns? The sub-commander seems a little discomforted by the idea of more people aboard.
Not concerns about your people exactly, sub-commander, but I am sure that the members of this conference have all brought on their own security, and that's a little disconcerting for the others. I have myself some dealings with your people, as I served with them during the war, and maybe I'm not talking like a full security force, but just a few more to kind of have a neutral force in place that kind of can act as a buffer towards overly aggressive security tactics.
You will have to get them to agree to that. My purpose here is strictly neutral. I cannot afford to show any suspicion or favoritism towards any group here, including the Federation.
I completely understand.
Commander Sareth speaks up for the first time. She's been watching you very carefully, all three of you. You wish to communicate with the representatives then?
Yes, I do wish to talk with the representatives.
Well, if you follow me, then I will happily introduce you to Taris. She is most interested in what the Federation has to say here. Which confirms Taris herself is here. Perhaps not massively surprising, but interesting.
I file that down into my brain. It's like, this is going to be fun. So yeah, I nod as, please lead the way.
Well, Chitaik looks somewhat relieved to have you out from under his feet, and Sareth sets off along a long corridor, which seems to be moving out to the outer ring of the station, and then comes to a halt outside outside a fairly large set of doors. Presses her hand on the controls outside. It bleeps for a moment and then opens up. The view that you get beyond is... These are probably some form of VIP quarters. They don't look like they're being lived in, but there is a sense of them being used as an area for someone to prepare, if you will.
Right.
There's a handful of officers, mostly with a fairly military bearing. Again, not massively surprising given the nature of the Imperial Legion. But the one that draws your attention is a rather sharp-figured woman at the center, who you recognize from the reports as Taris herself. Warlord, the Federation is here. So I see. Come in, come in.
DM question: is this from the thing? Her title and appropriate term of address is Warlord.
Yes, it is. The Starfleet reports indicate that she wanted something rather distinct from traditional Romulan titles, and something which would be a little something suitably aggressive and military to imply her support of that particular group.
Right.
Just so I have a clear picture, what's the actual difference between Taris's uniform and everyone else's?
It's mainly a color scheme thing. Taris's forces, the traditional Romulan uniform is grey, sort of a grey-greeny thing. Taris's has a definite red to it.
So it's a little bit more like to go out of game here, Sila's from Star Trek Online.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the primary distinction for the other three groups is in the insignias they wear. Taris has a different color scheme.
Gotcha.
Warlord Terrace. This is an honor for me. Rest assured, I have been a huge fan of the way that you have kept the Romulan forces together in such a troublesome time.
Thank you. Your name?
I am Captain Taya Zaonen, USS Nightingale.
Oh, yes. I've heard of you. I believe that you've recently had an unfortunate run-in with the rats, if you will.
Where did we lose Lazu?
Hello?
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 Are you there?
I can
Yeah.
hear Lazu.
Okay, I don't know, maybe the microphone didn't pick it up or something. What was the last thing you heard?
You had a run-in with
The rats.
the rats. We did have a run-in with a interesting group of people who do not seem to have the Romulan people's best interest in mind, but if that's who you're referring to, yes.
Blackthorn. Yes, they've proven to be surprisingly resourceful and well equipped.
Much more resourceful than I'd expected.
It's fascinating to see what kind of people can rise to the top during a time of crisis and disaster. Don't you think?
Indeed. And it's our hope that the ones that rise to the top have their own people's best interest in mind. The situation we found on and shoot, my brain just
Veranet.
a lack of copy. Yeah, on Veranet, the people on Veranet were quite susceptible to the machinations of Blackthorn, and I believe a stronger Romulan control of this area would go a long way in preventing such things from happening again.
And that is your interest in these negotiations? The strengthening of the Romulan people?
Warlord, that is my entire mission in Romulan sector, is leading hopefully to a reunification of the Romulan people, but to assist any way we can in their coming out of this crisis better for it.
Some would say that the Federation and the Romulan Star Empire has never exactly been friends.
They've been on mutual ground, but yeah.
I would never necessarily call our two governments friends. Sorry about that. No, I would never call our two governments friends. But our peoples have always have had a recent history of working together for mutually beneficial purposes in the face of adversity.
You refer to the Dominion War.
Correct.
Certainly. But look at what happened to our relations after that. Some among my council would say that the Federation is simply incompatible with our interests.
You dropped out a little bit there.
Yeah, I lost you.
God damn it. Seems to be happening a bunch. Some among my councillors have stated that history shows that the Federation is simply incompatible with the best interests of the Romulan people. What would you say to such a thing?
I would say that such history does exist. However, we have proven that it is not impossible. As you already have mentioned that you knew about the incident on Vernet, I felt that my people worked quite well with the citizens of Vernet in finding their solutions to their issues. I myself am pure proof that the Federation and the Romulan people can work hand in hand.
You've spoken of a reunification empire. What would that look like? I'm sure that I don't have to remind you that there are 4 quite different versions of it currently in existence.
To be honest, I can't tell what the future will hold. There are many, as you just said, there are many varied interests in what that future means to different people. But I can say with the utmost sincerity that the Romulan Empire was strong before, and that it will be once again.
Even if that means someone like Nadaris?
Nas flinches, but doesn't say anything.
Out of character, I'm. What do I know? What's my intelligence report on Nadaris, so that I can appropriately respond to this? What do I already know about Nadaris?
Do you want me to answer that, Lazu, or do you want to take it?
Go for it.
Praetor Nadaris is the leader of the Abraxas faction of the Empire. He and his faction control both the largest section of the military and are the most actively hostile of the 3 major polities. Their stated position is that any non-Romulan ship within the former Star Empire's borders are intruders and invaders, or worse, scavengers. As of yet, however, they haven't taken it upon themselves to enforce their opinion upon the other two polities or really act aggressively outside of their directly controlled territory.
Sort of thing of they have the largest military, but it's not by that much. Paris can give him a run for his money on her own, and the other two are enough to pose a threat. So it's a delicate balance of power.
Basically, if Dadaris goes after one of the other two, or Taris herself, the other two are going to jump him.
That'll just mop up the remains once everyone else has beaten themselves to a pulp.
Basically, yeah.
In the finest Romulan traditions.
But yeah, they're the remnants of the true hardline old guard.
Yeah, in a sense, to give a quick set of analogies, Rhaetor is a proto-Romulan republic, to use a STO analogy. Aknar is the Tal Shiar, sneaky bastard faction, and Abraxas is old school hardline xenophobia, with the Imperial Legion being the wild card.
All right, so that helps me definitely. My brain just like, okay, I don't remember what I remember about this guy.
I did link the overview document in Discord if you need to check over it at some point.
I mean, the thing to keep in mind is that even if he does get the power, there's still going to be at least two other factions that oppose him, which means we would probably end up in a very similar position to where we were before the Hobus incident, just because he has to give some to them. Otherwise, he risks a civil war. It would be very much a coalition government.
Appeasing the masses.
So coming back to the matter at hand.
Can I me to repeat her question?
No, I had an important text message pop up anyway. Of course, Warlord. The Federation would prefer to have someone who's a little bit more friendly towards our interests in charge of the Romulan Empire. But if that is how it works its way out to being the best for the Romulan people, that is what it will be.
And you would have me believe that there are no factions within the Federation and Starfleet that wouldn't be happy with the idea of the Romulan Star Empire becoming a historical fact?
Likewise, there are no doubt factions within the Star Empire that feel the same way of the Federation.
Certainly. But we're not the ones on our knees. But you're not the ones on your knees.
Nas gives a nod to concede the point.
There aren't any factions or anything within Starfleet or the Federation, right? It's at least not like how the Romulans are.
I'm just going to leave that there. While there may be some, even some with significant influence within the Federation, the very vocal majority of those in charge of Starfleet and the Federation wish to see the Romulan people come out of this together.
Right. Yeah. I know there's people of power of influence in the Federation. I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding it right.
Section 31.
Right.
Right.
And probably some hard-leaning members of the Federation Council.
Yes, well.
Yes,
Uh,
well.
All of the Vulcans.
Yes, well.
We could discuss that. I disagree,
Yeah.
but we can discuss that.
Anyway, good enough
I
topic
can't-
for this.
My apologies for this digression.
It's no. One doesn't tend to get very far in in Romulan society without understanding that those who speak the loudest often are the least worth paying attention to.
Within the Star Empire, correct. But within the Federation, a majority such as a very vocal majority tends to have much more influence on political matters than smaller, less vocal elements.
Tell me, Captain, what exactly are you hoping to get out of this?
Like I said, the survival and success of the Romulan people, and should the opportunities present themselves, I would not be remiss to furthering complementary relations between the Federation and the Romulan government, whatsoever it may find itself in.
Of course.
Securing, maybe a little bit freer trade. Maybe, things of that nature. Things that after the initial treaties are signed, when the career diplomats start sinking their teeth into each other, they can work out those deals.
I think that these negotiations will be quite interesting, Captain. I look forward to seeing you at the negotiating table.
I as well, Warlord.
Well, if there is nothing else, I'm sure that others wish to take away your valuable time.
I appreciate the meeting, at Warlord. It has been enlightening.
DM note, do you want to ask her about security arrangements?
Yeah, we can do that because I almost need to split. So I can.
Yeah, I'm watching the time.
By the way, Warlord, with so many political entities here with, shall I say, not each other's best interests in mind, I had the suggestion of maybe a security buffer. Nothing significant, mind you, but something just to where, untoward acts between security forces kind of have a buffer zone between each, to where there's no, if a conflict should arise, there's at least a disinterested neutral party to settle things down.
And you are proposing that your own men provide that neutral party?
Correct. They have had some training in non-aggressive settling down of situations. They were specific. My men were specifically chosen for their abilities in diplomatic security.
I can certainly see your point there. And I think that you and I have enough in common as far as our goals go that I can trust you on this matter. But you may have a harder time with some of the others.
I find I can be fairly convincing.
You may need to be more than fairly, but I'll be interested to see the results. Good day to you, Captain.
And to you, O Lord.
All right. Do you want to head off there?
Yep. Sorry, people, fans, and fellow crew members, but life calls.
Duty calls.
Indeed, it does. Alrighty. Well, we will. There's a little bit more to do on the ship, but we will probably look at closing up a little early today. Once that has been dealt with, because we do kind of need our diplomat.
Fair enough.
So, Lieutenant Commander Vintot. I believe you have some concerns about the security of the ship, specifically preventing unwanted visitors.
That I do.
Alrighty then. Well, this is the tricky thing. Creating a security field which will block unwanted transporter activity.
I didn't even think about that. Transporter inhibitors.
While not appearing openly hostile or like you're planning every other thing.
What about setting up some kind of transporter scattering field?
To cover the entire ship.
Mm.
That is probably what you're going to be looking at. But Federation starships weren't really designed to do that, so you're going to have to get a little creative. So,
I keep forgetting my turn my mic on. Does it have to be the entire ship? Or could we just put them up in secure areas like engineering the bridge, such and such?
that will make the task easier.
I'd go for that then.
Definitely.
Alright then. In that case, what I would like from you.
I finally get to roll.
You'll actually be the first and possibly only person to roll this.
Well, Nas rolled earlier.
Oh yeah, and failed, but that's a thing.
So judgy.
So yes, I'm going to be wanting a control engineering roll from you. And You do get your all fingers and thumbs bonus because, hey, look, you're at a computer console. Let's see.
Which means we already get one momentum for whatever I do.
Yep, which will be helpful. And you will also have technical expertise because there's going to be a ship roll as well. So, control engineering. The difficulty is going to be 2. And for the Nightingale...
I can roll the Nightingale.
Okay. This is going to be a computer's security roll.
Okie dokie.
Debating if I want to take a momentum, but hold on. You know what? I'll risk it.
Well, spend 1 to hopefully generate more. We'll see.
Okay.
Nice, 3 successes. Okay, so that kicks your momentum up by 1. You're now at 3.
But at least one of them has to be used. We can't save it.
You're up to 3 plus 1, which can't be saved.
Oh, okay.
So yes, it requires a little jury-rigging of systems, but you managed to get some transporter scattering fields set up around critical areas pretty comfortably. But
Good. Well done, crew.
You do run into something a little odd, which you probably wouldn't have noticed if it wasn't for doing this. But you have some specific trouble getting the inhibitor fields active around engineering.
Oh boy.
And you find that it's because there is some kind of other energy field interfering, which you, as I said, probably would not have ordinarily detected. Would you like to spend your bonus momentum to get some more information on that?
Yep.
Do it.
Alrighty. The energy field has a very specific frequency. It's a type of radiation which isn't it's too diffuse and too unstable for you to get an immediate idea of where it is or what the source is. But it's also fairly unmistakable because the Federation has put a lot of work into making sure they can detect this stuff. You found Thaleron residue.
Oh no.
Bollocks.
Oh dear.
It's shit's on all over again.
Which means that someone here has a Thaleron device.
Awesome.
Just what we need. Another basin rift.
Hide your kids, hide your wives.
Dun, dun, dun.
Door and run for your life.
Okay, as soon as finding this, I know this is going to raise some eyebrows outside, but I would say we go to yellow alert and we evacuate engineering.
That's not actually necessary. The residue you're finding is harmless. It's just
alarming.
The specific interactions between the residue and the warp core field itself is what made it detectable.
Okay. In that
It's not
case,
actually harmful at this stage. It's just you're getting an early warning sign that someone has a bad thing.
And besides, going to yellow alert may inadvertently trigger what we're trying to prevent.
I understand that, but there's a data on device on my ship, and I know there's not. But just saying, when I was originally saying that,
Yeah,
that I don't want
not
anymore.
yeah. I understand why you want to.
Okay, so what I'll probably do then, myself and security team, we'll go see if we can find out where the residue is coming from. Does that sound like something we would want to do?
Or would it be myself and a security team?
Well, I know my engine room. It's kind of part of it. So I might have an idea of what's not supposed to be there. A bit faster, I would think.
I will ask for a let's go with a reason engineering roll. And hey, look, you've got I know my ship and your troubleshooting focus, so you're getting a lot of bonuses.
Okay, so which one was again? Reason and what?
Engineering.
Okay. So, what were my focuses that we're going to use again?
You've got your troubleshooting focus.
Troubleshooting focus, so I need to turn that on.
And you also have I know my ship, which is bonus dice to find a technical problem with your ship.
Okay.
So you're rolling 3 dice.
Okay, so 3 dice.
This is going to be a difficulty of. Let's go with the difficulty of 1.
So I set my task roll to 3 dice now?
Yep.
Okay. Without taking any momentum or anything? Just making sure I understand why I'm at 3 dice.
Now. Momentum should be at 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm rolling. Oh wait, complication range is what?
Standard is 1.
Okay.
It's always 1 unless I say
I want you to change that. Okay. Sorry. I don't roll very often. Ooh. Nice.
That is 5 successes, which is 4 momentum you just gained.
Okay, we got 6. We got 6 plus 1 spare.
Yes, you do. So you go over every square inch of engineering with a fine-tooth comb, metaphorically speaking, and you confirm your initial suspicion. The Thaleron device is not here. It's not an engineering. And at this point, you can need to start spending momentum to get more answers.
Well,
not that you're short on the stuff.
Well, yeah, we got 7 momentum.
Well, let's just knock it down. Let's knock down the bonus one. This is fine. This is to ask a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way of tracing if it got moved somewhere else in the ship, or that's not a question to ask, guys?
I would probably maybe ask if, well, either if it's still on the ship or if it was on the ship.
Well, it was on the ship. We have residue from it.
I mean, like how long ago was it left there?
Well, I was going to say, since we have the extra to burn, do we want to actually burn that to give ourselves advantage on anything relating to finding this damn thing?
Remember that advantage doesn't last that long. It only lasts for 1 scene. You may want to stash this up. But it is up to you. You might be able to make some progress with that. For now, I would probably suggest focus on asking some questions and go from there.
Okay.
So I'm kind of back to my original question. Where to go, type of thing.
Okay. You make some clever use of your tricorders to mimic the energy field of the warp core. Pocket stuff to expand the field, all this sort of thing, to make it easier to pick up these particles. And the concentration seems to be fairly consistent pretty much wherever you go, which would imply that either the Thaleron device has been all over the ship, which seems unlikely, or that it's not actually been on the ship moved through the particle field.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
Would Ventot know about the Scimitar?
Or would the scimitar be classified?
Scimitar. No, I think you'd probably know about the scimitar.
If it was a no?
You would know.
Would know?
Yes.
Okay.
You would know the basics. Details I would make you roll for.
Because I believe he would know that ship is powered by Thaleron.
Was it powered by Thaleron?
It had a Thaleron signature for that powered its super weapon.
Let's see.
I'm trying to remember because we know Jordy detected it on that movie.
Nemesis, yeah.
Yeah.
A momentary spike in the tertiary EM band, I think he said.
I think.
Like it's definitely
the scimitar. The scimitar had its Thaleron generator, which was used for its super weapon, but I don't think it was
the actual power source for the ship.
I would imagine that it was a standard singularity drive.
Okay.
No, it's not exactly canon, but when those things die in Star Trek Online, they have the same singularity problems that all the other Romulan ships have.
Well,
I think in some of the beta canon, it is actually the area where the scimitar exploded is still not a great place to be.
Well, remember, the scimitar wasn't a Romulan ship; it was a Reman ship. So we don't necessarily.
It was a Reman ship, but bearing in mind the status of Remans in Romulan society, it's a fair bet that it used a lot of Romulan technology.
Probably.
Yeah, they didn't have a separate tech base.
But anyway.
The main things you would know is the Scimitar used had a Thaleron weapon system, and is the most famous example of it being used. And that, in theory, it was one of a kind.
I will throw out here, a friend of ours in chat has said the Great Bloom was the result of the scimitar exploding.
Yes.
Huh. Thank you, person in chat.
We have a chat member. Yay! Thank you, Plumbership.
Oh, good old Plum. Hello.
So what, are we ready to proceed?
I've thrown you information. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to ask more questions?
Should I ask more questions, guys, or do you think we have enough to pass it along to the away team?
I mean, it's information. Okay, speaking as someone on the away team, the information you've got is worrying, but there isn't a lot to do with it right at the moment. Make of that what you will.
I would
find some way to trace it.
Yes, I was going to actually suggest that. So probably have me do something.
That's actually not a bad idea. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out how to trace it then. Burn momentum for that.
This is going to be a whole new roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's going to be an extended thing. So let me just double check something. We're going into.
I'm just one for extended tasks.
I mean, you seem to be pretty good at them too, so.
All the extended tasks. Okay.
So is it me rolling for these or before L?
Me.
Gotcha.
It's going to be a science task.
Okay.
So yes, to begin with, you need to work out a way to do this, because the only way you actually picked this up was because of its interaction with your warp field, and it's a fair bet that even if whatever thing it was passed through this area pretty recently, you can't exactly extend your warp field to cover the system.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily have to extend our warp field. Couldn't we just like scan the immediate area around the ship?
Yes, you certainly have that power. Okay. So we're actually going to go into something new here, which you'll probably get some good use out of in the future. This is called the scientific method, which is a very specific type of extended task, which is related to working out things which you don't understand, or that, or dealing with events which aren't well understood. The first question is which discipline does it fit into? Engineering, science, or medicine? It's fairly obviously science. And Pharrell, you have the highest skill level in science, which makes you research lead, and means you're the one who has to make some of the decisions, even though other people like Vintop will be able to help you with it.
All right.
So, at this point, the question is, what kind of approach do you want to use? Which comes in the form of okay, so at this stage, players are encouraged to throw out ideas while trying to fit them into the focuses for the category of the problem. So then the research lead should choose between 3 and 5 of these ideas to use. These are called hypotheses, and the research lead may or may not have the skill focus, but they then explain these ideas to the game master. If the game master sees a hypothesis that fits the actual solution to the research problem, they regard that as the right way. They do not inform the players that which hypothesis is correct. If none of them fit the actual problem, then the game master gains a threat, tells them that they're wrong, and they should go back to the drawing board. After this, you go into extended task territory.
I also have the talent testing a theory. Would that also help out with this?
It will do in due course, but for the hypothesis stage, working out what approach to use, this is batting ideas back and forth rather than any rolling.
All right.
So you already have or you already have some clues as to how you pick this up initially, but the question is how you go from here. And feel free to spout techno jargon and technobabble and all that sort of wonderful thing, because this is Star Trek. This is what it's all about.
Mm. One idea we could do is just, like I said earlier, scan the immediate area around the ship. Try to pick up a Thaleron trail and any other sort of clues regarding it.
The difficulty is making that trail detectable. Something about this particular form of Thaleron is proving elusive to standard sensors. Like I said, it's the reason you picked it up before was the unusual interaction with your warp field.
Well, the warp field uses matter and antimatter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So couldn't we expose matter antimatter particles around the ship to try and pick up the Thaleron trail? Or create some kind of matter antimatter like particles?
Go a little less specific. Think in terms of focuses is
Focus.
the suggestion. So
A quantum scan of the area around the ship.
so yeah, you've got a focus of quantum physics. Ventot has warp field theory, warp field dynamics, rather, all of this sort of thing.
So I could probably use my quantum physics to help scan the area, and Ventot can use his warp field theory to assist.
Yes. The thing with this system is you pick a particular avenue to follow. So you make a short list of possible options which feel like they might work, and I tell you if all of them are wrong, and or if one of them is right, and then you go from there.
Gotcha.
So you're going with you've got quantum physics, you've got warp field dynamics.
I also have the focus of warp engines, if that could be of any help.
Well, it's not necessarily focuses that you have.
Okay.
Just think in terms of categories of approach, if you will.
Right.
Things which people could have as focuses, even if you don't necessarily have them. So in this case, I will you want to just go with those two as hypotheses, or
Probably. I'm not drawing up any other possible Trekkie methods to detect Thaleron radiation.
anyone else have any ideas to throw into the pool? Whether you're present or not.
That includes you people in the chat if you want to throw in ideas for his hypothesis.
We are trying to detect a Thaleron trail. Any ideas?
I'm just thinking of how pleased the locals are going to be if we start emitting random particles.
Yeah.
That is
Hi,
a
we're
concern.
strange aliens. Do you mind if we probe you?
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
God damn it, man.
Be right back.
Yeah, I don't think I'm seeing anything from chat here, guys.
Alright. Well, I will tell you that one of those two is the right
Back.
approach.
Okay, well, what were the two approaches?
You've got quantum physics and you've got warp field dynamics.
Ah,
So, you now have dee, 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 dee. Okay, so in this case, the difficulty is going to be 5.
uh-oh.
You don't have to get all of that in one roll, though.
Right.
You can split it over a number of rolls. It's like a different kind of extended task, but your task is to get a certain number of successes rather than the whole work track thing.
All right.
So you're the research lead, Pharrell, but because Vintot has a science of 3, then he can assist. So the dice that you're going to be rolling.
I will assist if we need it.
I will likely need an assist.
Okay, what do I do? Anything special for an assist, or just a basic roll?
It's a basic roll. You only roll 1 dice.
1 dice.
The
No
roll
focus
you're going
used.
to be making is science plus reason. Which angle are you going to go down first?
So
I was thinking probably warp field dynamics. We could probably emit some kind of like warp field pulse in a.
let's not scare the natives, shall we?
Well, dang it. I can't word this right to make it sound like not as alarming for the natives. Okay, maybe I'll just stick with scanning, because I think that's a little bit less alarming.
Well, you're still in the theoretical route at the moment. You're not actually putting it into practice.
Okay. So does he roll first?
It doesn't super matter. You're both rolling dice. It all adds together. In your case, Vintot, you do get your focus because warp field dynamics.
Oh, I didn't turn my focus on. Then should I re-roll?
Sure, go for it.
Ooh.
Nice. And Pharrell?
Alrighty, yeah, I would turn my focus on too, because I'm using quantum physics, right?
You're not going down that route.
Okay, whoops.
You're on warp field dynamics. Also, Vintot, you rolled engineering.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I was working with people in the chat, not paying attention to when you were talking. What do I need to change it to?
It's supposed to be reason science, so go ahead and re-roll that.
Okay, where's
Uh-oh.
Actually,
reason science? Okay.
Actually, that's no, re-roll it. Okay,
Oh,
same
good.
result.
Nice.
And Pharrell?
The dice gods are nice to me today.
Apparently.
Also reason science for me, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1 dice or 2?
2 dice.
Rolling. Okay, it lagged on me.
All right, that is
Oh.
actually 5 successes right there.
So we're going with that first one,
That's
right?
cool.
Yeah, you're going with the first one.
Okay.
Alrighty. Yes, this is definitely the way to go. You've run some theories about using, which could allow you to use the main deflector to send out a pulse, which should energize the immediate area around the ship, while hopefully not looking too threatening. And that will give you at least a start on working out which way the Thaleron trail went.
Or came from.
That too. So, now that you've confirmed that, we're going to go to just implementing that. So, Pharrell. Actually, no. Let's do this in stages. Vintot, you're going to need to modify the main deflector. So I'm going to need a daring plus engineering roll from you.
Daring, huh? It's a good thing daring's my highest attribute.
And yeah, I will allow your warp field dynamics focus.
Okay. Is this daring engineering you said, or?
Daring engineering.
Okay, and we have a focus of warp field dynamics.
And you're rolling 2 dice.
2 dice.
This is going to be a difficulty of let's go with a difficulty of 2.
And by the by, did my roll raise our momentum any?
No,
Okay.
because you got exact.
Okay, how many do we have right now?
6.
You're at 6 momentum.
I like to pull momentum to get 1 more die, just to be safe.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Anybody object?
No objections.
All right, 3 dice. Ready to roll. Focus choose yes. 3 dice.
Ooh.
Oh no.
Well, I will allow success at a cost. So you do succeed anyway. But that's going to cost you 2 complications. 1 for the one that you rolled, and 1 for success at a cost. We'll get to the complications in a minute.
Joy.
Pharrell, let's go ahead and make that sensor roll.
Alrighty. Science reason?
It's going to be science reason, and you're going to be assisted by the ship.
Alrighty. I think I would like to spend a momentum to roll 3 dice.
This is going to be science plus sensors from the ship.
I can roll that.
And the difficulty is going to be, it would normally be 2. I'm going to spend threat to bump it up.
Okay.
It's now going to be 3.
And here's where I would use my quantum physics focus, right?
No, you're still on. It's a warp field thing. So.
All right, I'll wait for you to tell me next time. Okay. Spend momentum to you roll 3 dice, and rolling now.
Yes. I don't think
You
that's
get
quite
another-
enough.
You get 1 more dice, Pharrell, because of testing a theory.
Alrighty.
So just roll 1 dice and I'll add it on.
Yeah.
Cool. That is just enough to get you to your success, to your 3 successes.
Nice.
So, here's what happens. The deflector warms up, and then sends out its pulse of energy. And the entire Nightingale just sort of shimmers as the energy field wraps around it and expands, and then gently dissipates. And as you run the scan on to try and pick up the Thalaron particles, the Thalaron residue rather, if it was actual Thalaron particles, then you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
You definitely have an idea of where the device was going and where it was coming from. It came from outside of the system, not super surprising. And then it passed by, assuming it didn't change course, it passed by the station and then joined one of the flotillas. Which means that it's either hidden, cloaked or something, or someone at this peace conference has a starship with a Thalaron weapon aboard.
Oh boy.
And that's when the main deflector blows.
Main deflector what?
The main deflector blows out.
Oh, crap.
And simultaneously, I'm actually going to burn the other turn the other complication into a threat. So you have discovered something deeply unnerving. The ship is damaged, and as you're trying to work out how you're going to explain this to the captain, and hoping that none of the Romulans present has become
suspicious
aggravated by this turn of events, and especially that anyone who actually has a weapon doesn't feel like they've been rumbled. That's when another ship decloaks.
Oh. Please don't tell me.
That is a Mogai class warbird.
Oh.
But there's something off about it. Most notably, the fact that when you run the ID on it, the thing that pops up is Blackthorn.
Oh.
Oh, they are here.
Bollocks.
And that is where we will call it.
Yeah.
Oh, such a cliffhanger.
For being a Benza, I'm certainly being pretty good at screwing things up.
So
last week I almost revealed our presence to the enemy, and then now I blow out the deflector and reveal that we figured out something was in the area.
Well, I mean, it could have been you, but we could. Oh, never mind. It probably was you. I was going to suggest that we probably had a Romulan saboteur aboard or something.
It could be.
Might have. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So, this is a pretty mess, isn't it?
I was kind of worried that was going to be another scimitar decloaking.
Nah. There's only one scimitar and it was destroyed years ago.
Yeah.
It's not like someone would go and build another. That would be silly.
That would be very silly.
So yes, you have 4 people who are already at each other's throats. You have a Thaleron weapon hidden amongst one of the
Factions.
factions. And Blackthorn just showed up. And if they're showing up on your doorstep, even with a Mogai Warbird,
That is just some seriously bad juju.
they probably have something up their sleeve.
So, mechanically speaking, what does the deflector being blown out mean?
Well, the deflector is like the main thing a starship needs. So I would imagine there would be a massive power blowout throughout the ship.
It's basically a plot restriction until it's been repaired on. Well, I mean, the immediate thing is you won't be able to use it to trace the Thaleron particles until it's been repaired.
Okay.
Which means you're probably going to need someone else's help
But
for that.
maybe this is a different reflector, but I was thinking, doesn't that also be needed to generate the warp field?
The deflector doesn't generate the warp field.
That would be
the main deflector. The deflector's purpose when it comes to warp travel is that it nudges stuff aside so that the ship doesn't ram into microparticles and such.
Yeah. It would be the warp nacelles that generate the warp field.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
As the engineer, I should have probably known that. But yeah.
Okay.
Oop.
So we can't do deflector-based searches, and basically travels out of the picture.
Well, hopefully we've gathered information we need.
I mean,
And,
at this point, we know that there's a ship with a Thaleron device amongst one of the faction flotillas, but that's when that's a second later. That's when the deflector blows out.
well, we know that. Let me also ask one question. The Blackthorn ship was not the one with the Thaleron signature, correct?
That is correct.
So that means that we have someone out there, still cloaked, with a Thaleron signature, that passed by the station. Don't know if we detected anything like a transporter that might have beamed the device onto the station somewhere.
That's also possible.
So,
Yeah.
and so it's just, yeah.
So, we got a faction plotting, most likely plotting to take out the others, and possibly us as well, and Blackthorn.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
I told you this one would get
And I
complicated.
guess we start the next episode with me explaining to the captain how I disobeyed his rule, his note of "do not break my ship."
Well,
Yeah.
well, again, it's still possible that you weren't the one that broke it.
She's still probably not going to be happy.
Definitely not.
I told you to keep my ship intact.
Like, damn it, Vintock, you had one job. You're fired.
So, this is probably going to turn into a 3-parter at this stage, just for the record. I had a feeling this one might stretch out. The fact that we're closing up a little early doesn't help, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of plot threads to get through, and we've only just got through the first one.
Right.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah.
I want to, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to put some questions out here for. We've actually have consistent viewers with this week, which is kind of fun and interesting. I wanted to see if there's any questions our viewers have for us.
Oh, yes.
And if you don't, just say no and we'll move on.
Well, I know at least 2 of them are folks from my other online gaming group. But
Well, I mean, they're welcome to field questions as well. You know.
How do we like the DM or GM in our game? I think she's doing a fantastic job. Or he
Definitely.
She's great. Easy question. Next.
Who is your daddy and what does he?
What?
Next question.
Oh,
Why haven't you lowered the Gorn into a torpedo and fired at anyone yet?
I know who you are, and I know where I can find you.
Whoever
asked that question is. Whoever asked that question, awesome question.
At this point, I am just going to have to create a set piece which will require boarding torpedoes.
Honestly, I'm okay with this.
I mean, screw the torpedo. Just load Nas into a torpedo tube and pull the trigger.
Okay, Gorn are tough. Gorn are not that tough.
Just do it into darkness style.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Any other questions?
Oh dear. Decken is being called. Well, Nas is being called a wimp. So that's
Ooh.
charming.
Okay, you space yourself. See how you like it.
Alright.
Oh,
Any questions for me, either from players or viewers?
What were you saying? Sorry.
Any questions for me, either from players or viewers?
Not at the present moment.
None for me.
Alright then. Well, that wraps us up for this session. Just finishing a little early because our captain is absent.
Yeah, so we really need our diplomat.
And next week we'll be continuing with friends like these. And be fair. Everything's going to go horribly wrong later. This was a lot of setup.
Oh god, yeah. This is again tip of the iceberg.
I mean,
Wait, things haven't gone terribly wrong already yet?
no. I mean, it's a bit of a giveaway, but I'm going to say it anyway. You've discovered the first assassination plot.
Oh, right. Romulans. Of course, it's only the first one.
Well, I mean, Thaler, you got a Thaler on device. I mean, how does that not scream assassination plot?
It's more the point that there's more than one. So that's going to be highly entertaining.
I mean, there are three factions, so there's easily 6 at a given time.
That's entirely fair.
3 factions and Taurus's Legion.
Yep. And Blackthorn now, so that's 5 factions.
Oh, I figured they would be showing up at some point or another because this peace conference going well for the Romulans is exactly counterproductive to what Cecina wants.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the Section 31 mole aboard your ship, so that's 6 factions.
Oh, Loop! That's a spoiler alert.
Or I could just be messing with you. You will never know.
Now, see, this is one of those quantum Section 31 agents. If we decide that there isn't a Section 31 agent, there is. If we decide there is, there isn't.
The only solution is to kill the rest of the crew that aren't player character. Because there's
Except
no way Bjorn...
I think Starfleet Command would frown on that, and you don't know. For all you know, one of you has actually approached me and set up to be a Section 31 mole without anyone else knowing.
Shh. Don't give Bjorn's secrets away.
Alright, folks. I have D&D in the not so far future, and I do need to eat because I am starving hungry. Hope you have all enjoyed this. We will be back on next week with the continued trials and tribulations of the Nightingale and their attempts to make sure that everyone doesn't die horribly.
Perhaps even launch Nas out of a torpedo tube.
Who knows? Could happen. So
Good.
until then, everyone, we will. I messed up my outro. So we will see you next time among the Embers. There we go. That's it.